If you hold left click and right click, it will go faster? Yeah, but like if I could just solve this puzzle. Like, go have a cigarette real quick? Oh, you fuck.
Oh, you fuck.
What's going on YouTube? My name is Nedley, back with another video for you. This time more video game focused. This time we're going to be talking about a game called Superliminal and mostly focusing on the ending. So just be aware, in the video ahead there are going to be major spoilers. Alright? So don't say I didn't warn you. I'll post a tag right before all the footage shows up. Anyway, enjoy. Superliminal is a game all about perspective and the changing of it. Leading into the game is in a very Portal-esque fashion. The game's main design concept and puzzle structure is altering the way you look at objects, making them larger, smaller, jumping on the larger items to get to a higher spot, so on and so forth. For example, the closer you get to an object, the smaller it becomes. On the contrary, if you put an object high up in the sky or you move far away from it and then pick it up, it becomes larger. At the very start of the game, this concept is fairly difficult to grasp, but after about 30 minutes of puzzle solving and figuring it out and playing with the objects, it does become clear, and then that's when the puzzle structure begins to ramp itself up. Just to be clear once again, I actually enjoyed the hell out of Super in the moment-to-moment play. Each puzzle felt well thought out, and whilst there were some spikes and dips in the difficulty, each one was sufficiently challenging enough to keep me engaged and always thinking in the moment. However, it is not the design of the game that is my main conceit, but it is the narrative itself that I have an issue with, and specifically the non sequitur ending. As I mentioned before, the narrative design in this game is very much like Portal, from waking up to a room with a sweet sounding AI making jokes on your behalf about why you're here and you solving all these puzzles. Also much akin to Portal 2, there's a character that acts as the director of this institute, which is the building that you're currently in, and he seemed a lot like Cave Johnson, both in the writing and the self-deprecation, as well as explaining the reasoning for all the different kinds of puzzles that there are in the game. It also even lets you get behind the test chambers itself, much like Portal 1 and Portal 2 did with the Ratman rooms, seeing a little bit behind the scenes of the test chambers that you're currently kind of working your way through. As you progress further and further into the game, everything becomes to get a little bit more ominous, much in the way that GLaDOS did in Portal. The world building and the level design around you is actually superb in the storytelling as well. As the further you progress through the institute itself, the more dysfunctional it becomes, the crazier the board scrawlings are, and it leaves the mystery of what happened to the workers in this facility. Even though it does feel well trodden out by a game, in my opinion, that is far better written and designed, it still works in the way that it's looking to, and the story also kept me engaged all the way through. However, as you take your final steps in the game, a monologue begins, resoundingly so, as you're going through the most trippiest puzzles in this game. Let's go ahead and take a listen to the monologue in its entirety so we can all be working with the full context of what occurs at the very end of the game. Be forewarned, there are many spoilers ahead of exactly how this game ends, so if you're not looking to be spoiled on it, step out now. Also, just an editing note, I have cut up the monologue to just the narrative parts, so that way there's no long breaks of swelling music that occur in between it, so that way this video isn't 20 minutes long. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and by now you may have realized that all of this has happened exactly the way it was supposed to. You see, everyone who comes to the Institute does so because they feel that they are no longer in control of something important to them. But, more often than not, the problem is not that the problems we face can't be solved. The problem is that we become so afraid of failure that we refuse to see our problems from a new perspective. And so, we do the same things again and again and again. And therein, of course, we find exactly the failure we were looking for. Your life will always be a struggle, and you will always have problems. But today, you have the chance to see things differently. Even though it meant facing obstacles that seemed impossible at first, you thought outside the box, and you overcame them. Because you saw things from every angle, you understood them for what they really were. Because you kept moving forward, no matter how far off path you were told you were headed, or how unexpected it became, you found your way. In a few minutes, you'll be back in the real world, and some part of you will say that none of this was real, so how could it have really meant anything? But, just like the power of perspective itself, it will have been as real as you believed it to be. All you've got to do is wake up.
We have the full context of the monologue at the end. Let's begin and discuss it. I just want to lay out for the record that the message itself that it's trying to deliver, I actually agree with. It basically is telling you, hey, look, you solved all these puzzles in this game by looking at it from a different perspective. Now take this into your real life and solve all your problems that way too. Anything that you can't solve. Quit repeating the same process time and time again, but instead take the initiative, stop, look around, and figure out, is there a different way to solve this? Is there a different problem that will basically fix this problem as well that I could be fixing? This is something I do try to practice both in my personal and professional life, and it actually, like, low-key, if you don't do that, try it. It works. The message itself, I don't have a problem with. My main issue with it, however, is the fact that it literally feels like it comes out of nowhere. It just magically appears. You have a message now. This is what we want to leave you with. It feels super shoehorned in at the very end of this game, where it wasn't building to anything like this in the slightest. I actually don't have an issue with games trying to, deliver a message on bettering yourself as a person, and in fact, I think that it's a needed thing. You don't really get that in video games too often anymore, especially with narratives, other than just telling you a straight story, whether it be good or not. So I'm not saying that this isn't without merit. What I am saying is that there's a better way of delivering it in this kind of medium, and this feels like it was, like I said before, shoehorned in at the very last minute. If you want to give some sort of narrative explanation of, hey, you can use this in your life to change your perspective, definitely do that. This ending could have been completely different with you as the character, as the player character, actually going through real life events, and if you change your perspective of that being resolved. That honestly would have been far more powerful than just a monologue at the end. What this felt like was, hey, we want to have a message in this game, let's just shove it in at the end. Make the player fucking realize that, hey, you've been playing with perspective the whole time. Just do that in your real life, forehead. I get where they're coming from. It just comes out of nowhere. That is my main conceit with this game. As we were finishing this on stream, however, and I was pretty much complaining about this over and over again, something odd happened though. My chat turned on me. They literally told me I was wrong. They told me that the message was great, this game was great, it ended perfectly, and that's that. We got into a big long discussion about how it just literally pops out of nowhere, and nobody seemed to think I had merit there. So the main conceit for this video, and the reasoning why I'm making this, is to see what everybody else thinks. Am I the crazy one who just expects more out of writing in a video game? Or should I just accept this message as it is, enjoy it for what it is, and move on with my life? I recognize that it's a video game. I totally understand that. At the end of the day, it's not very important. But I do take this narrative in video games fairly seriously. I do like a great story in something, and I don't like when you just try to shoehorn a message in just to try to shoehorn something in there. Could have been a better way of doing it. Once again, I highly recommend this game. Please go play it. It is actually a really, really fascinating and interesting puzzle game. I just don't like having a message just shoved in at the end there. So that's my video on Superliminal. Take it for what you will. Well, that is another video in the bag, YouTube. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm still trying to figure out the formatting for this, so if you have any suggestions, please comment down at the bottom. Also, am I wrong? Am I wrong in fucking thinking that I don't think that a message like that should just be shoved into the back of a game? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, once again, don't forget to follow on both the YouTube, hit that sub button up there, and don't forget I do stream on Twitch almost every day except for Mondays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern to whenever over at twitch.tv/Nedley. That's Nedley. Thank you all for tuning in and have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye. Sure played. Look, if you fill the room up, they can't go anywhere and they have to come up. Look. So guys, how you doing today?